Hi everyone, Diana Rankin here with your weekly soul messages and a prediction or two for the week of August the 19th to the 25th. The 19th to the 25th. And Daisy's right here. We're inside today because it's thunderstorming outside and probably not a good idea to be sitting outside in thunderstorm, although I have to admit I've done that plenty of times. I love thunderstorms. Not when they're wild and not when they're causing damage, but just when there's thunder and lightning and it's kind of exciting. I do have a couple of predictions for you this week, and I want to talk to you about the messages that are now coming true that the ancients predicted for us, and then of course we'll get our message from Philip. But first of all, I want to say, excuse me, we are in tumultuous times, and I would love to tell you it's going to get so much easier, but it's not. We are in tumultuous times, and they're going to last for a while, even increasing. So we need to take extra good care of ourselves. But I want to go into the prediction that I really want to make that came to me quite strongly today. The ancients tell us two things that I want to mention. The first thing that the ancients tell us is this is the time for the feminine rising, that feminine energy. It's the right brain energy, the creative energy, the emotional energy, and it can be an unsteady energy. It doesn't, the left brain guides more of our logic, and when we have the balance, we can balance logic with emotion and be creative, but have the truth in there. When we have that feminine rising, several things are happening. One of them is we're seeing a lot of emotion. And some of that is difficult, shall we say. But the big exciting thing about that, and here's my prediction, with the feminine rising, and even though feminine energy is in both the male and the female humans, when the feminine is rising as strongly as it is, look for midterm elections coming up in November to elect not a lot of women, but to elect more women into Congress than we've seen in the past. And I think we're going to see an increase of that. So I think more women are even running, which would be necessary. And I think there are some women who have not yet announced, which is interesting because we're getting pretty close to that election. So the feminine is rising, so we will see more women in the House and also taking over the Senate. Not taking over, it'll still be male dominated, but more women will be coming in to the Senate, some totally unexpectedly. That's that feminine rising. Now, when the feminine's rising, of course, the masculine can, not in the energies, a little bit even in our brains, but in our world, we're seeing that masculine, no, we don't want the feminine to rise. You know, recently a friend said to me, and I would tell you who she is, but she's very, very private, but I don't think she'd mind me sharing this. She said to me that so much of this masculine rising, so much of this men being afraid of women is very primal. And she's right. It's very primal. It goes back to the days when women bled and didn't die, and oh my gosh, they're magical. That's really scary. So I want to thank one of my best friends for using that word primal, because it really did trigger, and I totally agree with her. And if she were less private, I'd tell you who it was, but she knows. So anyway, that's happening, and that is going to affect the midterm elections. It will also affect the 2020 elections. Am I saying a woman will win? I'm not saying that yet. Let's see what happens in the midterms, but I am saying in the midterm elections, and I think this is great hope. At least for me, it feels good, because we need more feminine energy in the U.S. Senate and in the U.S. House of Representatives, and we're going to have it. Now, the other thing that the ancients said is this is the period of time when all the secrets will be revealed. Now this didn't just start happening yesterday. This has been happening. I mean, this has started, I want to say, certainly around 2000 and even a little bit before. But 2000 is when this particular period of time started. And these periods of time tend to run in 20-year periods. And when we're going through that final 1920th year, it gets pretty rocky. And if you remember back in 1999, 2000, there was some rockiness in there. And so we're in that now. People were frightened of the millennium. Oh my God, the end of the world is here. Well, the world didn't end. In fact, on New Year's Eve 2000, I had I want to say a party, but it was actually more of a workshop, and we gathered and we drummed and we walked the labyrinth, and at midnight we were outside walking the labyrinth and singing and dancing. So we did not think the world was going to end. We were celebrating it. Right now, what we're going through, again, and you've heard me say it, is the old clashing with the new. Again, it's the masculine energy that is clashing with this feminine, but it's also all these old secrets are coming out. We're seeing that in the U.S. We're seeing prejudice and horrific prejudice against human beings that was tampered down to some extent and hidden beneath the surface, that it would explode here and explode here and explode here and here. But now it's exploding all over the place. The downside of that is it's very painful and it's very hurtful. The upside of it is it's coming out. You've heard me say the wound has to, instead of healing like this, the wound has to break open and heal like this. And all that pus is coming out. We didn't know how all these secrets would be revealed. We didn't know about the internet, or our ancient ancestors didn't know about the internet. But today, it's all over the internet. And today, those people who have committed crimes are being called on those crimes. Big top people at the top. They're being caught, and more will come out. More is going to be caught, shall I say. We can't get by with the old ways. They don't work. So I want to say with this Mercury that is just this week going out of retrograde, but we're still going to feel the effects of it for a few days. By end week, we'll probably be out of the effects of Mercury in retrograde. But it has asked us, and if we didn't answer, then it forced us to let go of all that old stuff that no longer serves us. Pretty exciting, but at the same time, pretty difficult to get through. How do we get through this? One of the easiest ways is to remember our goal. What is our goal? Our goal is to live our lives peacefully, to live our lives in love, to be humanitarians and help others. And I want to give you an example for my life this week. I had dinner with a friend. We get together pretty much once a week for dinner. And my friend is a Republican, more moderate than many, but I have many Republican friends, by the way, and we get into these discussions. With some friends, I will tell you, we cannot have a discussion about politics. We just can't. We have other things in common. We may talk literature. We may talk about humane treatment of animals. We may just share stories, but we won't talk politics. With other friends, I can have very profitable, profitable, but I'm not monetarily profitable, but profitable in the richness of the conversations about politics in today's world. With other friends, sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. And this happened to be last night, the friend I was with, that sometimes we can talk politics, and sometimes there's no talking politics. Well, last night was one of those nights that we probably shouldn't have been talking politics, but we were in a restaurant, and the restaurant was crowded, and it was noisy. And this is a restaurant we often go to, and it's usually, I mean, it may get crowded, but I've never felt this kind of noise, and this kind of, the energy was just disruptive, and that kind of energy where you feel it and your spine is like this, and you're trying to protect yourself, but you're so tense from the noise that protecting yourself is very difficult. But I wasn't protecting myself from the noise, and the noise was getting to me. And at the same time, we were talking politics. We were talking about the Trump wall. And his comment to me was that the Democrats voted for the Bush wall. My first thought was, there must have been a story on that one channel that considers itself news. I consider a channel propaganda. There must have been a story, and they said that the Democrats voted for the Bush wall. Well, the Bush wall is very, very, very different from what the wall that Trump is asking. My first comment is, you want to spend, what is it, how many billions of dollars? I know it's well into the millions, and I think it's now into the billions, to put up a wall that is going to harm wildlife, because wildlife doesn't understand what a wall is, that is going to harm people, because this town on this side of the border and this town on this side of the border, they don't separate. It tears up people's land, because there are people, farmers, who have land on this side and on this side, and the logistics of it. Well, anyway, it went on from there. And my friend came back, and then I came back. And pretty soon I noticed my friend's shoulders coming in. And I noticed that he was looking down more at his food and getting closer to the table. And finally it dawned on me, Diana, stop. Stop. What is your goal here? To have a pleasant evening with my friend. Not to antagonize, not to have an argument. I'm not going to change his opinion. I don't need to have this argument with my friend. Let him have his beliefs, and I'll have mine, and we'll agree to disagree. And as soon as I got that, and I asked myself, what is your goal? And my answer inwardly, my inward answer, was to have a nice, pleasant evening. And it was hard enough with all the noise around us. I took a breath, I backed up, and I asked him an entirely different question. I asked him about his business, and suddenly his shoulders came up, his face came up. I could hear what he was saying, because it was hard enough to hear. And then when he was speaking softer, because I was throwing facts at him, and I'm even going to use the word bullying. I wasn't being kind and loving. I don't know that it would really went to the escalation of bullying, but for lack of a better word, I was not being kind and loving. I was being rude. You will listen to me and you will change your mind. I guess that is bullying, isn't it? Anyway, if we stop and think, when we feel we need to get our point across, whether it's an argument about politics or it's an argument about something going on in our personal life, we don't win when we so think we're winning. We're merely maybe alienating that other person. So even if we walk away and say, won that one, did we? I had the opportunity to look at, did I really need to spell this out? No. Did I really need to throw all this stuff on our dinner table? No. It's not going to change his beliefs. He's not going to change mine. Let's find common ground. Let's enjoy one another. And let's interact in love. Let's stop the arguing. If we don't stop the arguing, how are we possibly going to change the world into stopping the arguing? We may not always agree. We may not always get our own way. That's not to say we shouldn't speak out. We absolutely should speak out, but speak out when it's appropriate. Speak out when it matters and where it's going to make a difference. Use your intuition to tell you, this isn't going to make a difference. This is only going to ruin our evening. Let's get a message from Philip, shall we? For those of you who are new, welcome. We're so glad you came today. And we're here every week, so please check us out. Thank you for subscribing. Tell your friends. And do make comments below. I do my very best to answer them as soon as I can, which sometimes takes a while. For those of you who come back, you know I love you so much, and I'm so grateful for you, and I thank each and every one of you for your comments, your likes, and even if you disagree with me, I may come back at you and tell you why I don't agree with you, but I'll do so. It gives me practice in doing so with love. I do, of course, if anyone is rude or unkind or calls me or anyone names or is just plain nasty, I have a delete button, and I've been known to use it. Anyway, this is Philip's book. Philip is my spirit guide, and this is an oracle book with a message of wisdom on each page, and we just flip through or we just open to wherever we feel like opening, and we get our message for the week. Shall we? Are you thinking left page or right page? Because each page has a different message. So we just flip through and see where we go. Okay, you ready? I'm thinking left page. But I want to also, we can rewrite, we can read the right page as well if you like. But here we go, left page. If you hold your hands over your eyes, you cannot see. If you hold your hands over your eyes, you cannot see. Oh, my friends, there is a problem with seeing, because when we see, it may be painful what we're looking at. But that gives us the opportunity to change things. We don't want to hold our hands over our eyes. We also don't need to argue with those who do, because they're not ready to take their hands off their eyes. But we are. If you hold your hands over your eyes, you cannot see. That's our message. Now, I usually read what's on the right side, because why not get a second message? Accomplishment requires commitment. Accomplishment requires commitment. And I'm going to apply that. You can apply it to any part of your life, but I'm going to apply it to today's message. And I'm going to say, in order to create peace in the world, we first must have a complete commitment to peace in our own lives. And that comes from our hearts, from the peace in our hearts. So, my friends, put peace in your heart. Act from places of love, and then let that spread out into the world. Well, you know who's been sleeping this whole time down here at my feet. So from Daisy and from me, we love you. We thank you for being with us this week. We thank you for coming back week after week and supporting us. And most of all, we thank you for adding love to the world. Until we meet again.